Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for attending another LinkedIn Live event. We try to do this every Monday at 8 o'clock, and it's my honor and pleasure to be joined by our ecosystem lead at Microsoft for all things BizApps related, Dynamics related. Probably many of you know her very well. Cecilia, welcome to our LinkedIn Live event show.
Hi, pleasure to be here. And yes, Brian and I work together a lot, have worked together for many, many years. So super happy to join him today.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Cecilia. And one thing, not to embarrass you, but if you can all post in the comment window, not only where you're watching from, but please help me celebrate and congratulate Cecilia on, if you can believe it, she's been at Microsoft 20 years. And if those of you who aren't, who work with Microsoft, you know that our milestones are 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, 15 year, 20 year, 25 year, 30 year, if you can believe it. But 20 years is a big deal because you can imagine 2 decades working at a single company, passionate about dynamics. So congratulations. Let's all celebrate Cecilia. So, and that's going to be one of the questions we'll first start out, Cecilia, is give a little background of yourself. What do you do at Microsoft? Because, of course, people who may be watching this for the first time, they're like, okay, what does an ecosystem lead do? Give a little background of yourself, and then maybe comment on your journey. Like, what has it been like for working at Microsoft for 20 years? Because, like, for example, you and I have known each other for a lot of that time because we've been so aligned and working so closely together in your various roles in BizApps. So, yeah, why don't we just start out with that as a starting point?
Yeah, great. Well, so right now, in this current role that I've had for almost 4 years now, I basically partner really closely with our product marketing team. And that's where really all the product strategy gets created. But inclusive of that is some of our core components of our partner strategy as well. Because it's very connected. How are we going to go to market with our products and what role the ecosystem plays into that? And we partner really closely with the product marketing team. And I distinctively own the execution of that strategy in the field and across our global partner group and one commercial partner group, across our ISVs, across our SIs, across our cloud solution providers, in all segments, all partner types. And through that execution, my team and I touch all parts of it, whether we need to recruit partners, whether we need to ready and enable partners in different ways and in different technologies, go deeper in this technology than this other, how we're going to invest and incent partners for the future. Our co-selling strategy is a very big part of what we do as well. Our program infrastructure, how are we going to allow our partners to differentiate when they invest really deeply in the partnership with us, and in their capabilities and in their customer success, and that differentiation is something that we work on a lot as well. So, and regarding my journey, well, so I grew up in Argentina, studied in Argentina, graduated in Argentina in an international commerce degree. I always loved everything international. Whatever, I was in the last country out there in the southern hemisphere in the world, very far from anywhere if you live in the northern hemisphere. But I always loved. I was very attracted to anything global, anything international, anything multicultural. And with that in mind, I worked for Oracle in Argentina. I worked for a very, very big international steel company, steel pipe producer, if you can believe it, very different from technology. I always was very drawn to technology for some reason. I think I had a mind for data and for databases and how technology was helping us do a better job. I had my little programming and Access back in the day and things like that. So, I decided to do a master's degree in the US. That company that I worked for was very supportive. I did a master's degree in Thunderbird, a global school of management that had a very unique program that was business, yes, but very global in nature and with a very strong curriculum on foreign affairs and international relations, which was always a passion for me. I graduated from that, and then in a normal job fair for the National Society of Hispanic MBAs, I met Microsoft just in the corridors, had a little bit of a chat and an interview, and then they invited me to Redmond. I fell in love with the area, did my first round of interviews, and I started in the partner space. Back in the day, it was enterprise partner group, not for any group product in particular. And that's how my journey started. And I did everything from portfolio management, how do we choose partners that we manage, how do we do partner business planning with partners in an effective way. And then in 2006, I decided it was time for me to do something in another country and moved to Spain. And that's when I started in what was Microsoft Business Solutions back in the day. And I led partner recruitment for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Then that job turned to be worldwide very quickly, just because of the nature of the work that I was doing. But I stayed in Europe. Then I was dedicated to field operations for a couple of years, where I owned all the communities of all our partner roles, partner recruiters, partner technical advisors, partner managers, and everything about managing our field community and our field roles, and the way we compensate them, the way we reward them, the way we measure, the tools they use. It was about 400 people in my community. From there, I had the absolute privilege to be a chief of staff for who was the corporate vice president of sales and partners back in the day for this business globally. That was an amazing boot camp for me and a great eye opener to look at a business from a completely different angle. And then after that, really, I almost migrated after a couple of short-term roles into the role that I am today, where I'm just so privileged to be able to look at the world from the ISV eyes, from the SI eyes, from the partner that focuses in the mid-market, the partner that focuses in the enterprise, for a global system integrator eyes, from an indirect cloud solution provider. It's really given me that broad range of perspectives in so many different ways to drive customer success with so many different partner models and business models across our partners.
Yeah, wow, gosh, Cecilia, what a journey. And I mean, I am so glad you got exposed to BizApps, because that journey, when you started that, it is interesting, because I do fondly remember when you started that chief of staff role. That's when we really started to work together and started to work together through that journey. And gosh, what a journey it's been. So give the organization or the people watching, what's one thing, because I always ask this kind of as a starting point, what's one thing that's not on your LinkedIn profile that you'd be willing to share for people watching live, because it gets kind of a lot of icebreaker, gets to allow people to get to know you. One thing is, it's good that I know you have a beautiful daughter that loves Legos, and I see the Minions. We were talking about pre-show, the Minions, and I was going to have you maybe do a bongo drum. I'm not going to embarrass you. I'm not going to have you do that, but because I see the bongo drum behind you. But what's one thing that's not on your profile that you'd like to share with the?
Yeah, I think there are two things that are not in my profile, and maybe there should be. One is I studied music for 10 years, and singing is probably my favorite hobby. And I didn't know when I met my husband that he was an excellent jazz pianist. So we have quite the concerts in this house sometimes between the two of us. So music has been a very big part of my life, especially growing up, and singing is just something that fills my heart with joy. And then the other thing that I don't think is in my LinkedIn profile is I come from a very political family of political activists, and a passion of mine is global affairs and global politics, geopolitical environments and global policy. And I've become quite passionate about the combination of technology and foreign affairs and international affairs, and that's something that I read about a lot on the side, and hope one day will be a step in my journey as well.
No, I love it, Cecilia, because it's probably evident. I don't think it changed your background, but on your LinkedIn profile, allyship. I mean, it's pretty front and center what you stand for, and I think that's what I love about what you do, is that you very passionate about different things, and also always thinking about what's that broader scope that you can apply. I'm going to do a couple shout outs here, because we actually have gotten a lot of people commenting on the journey. Chris, and you might enjoy, because some of these names you might pop up and you're like, oh, I know that person. So Chris, thank you, Dr. Cecilia. Wanderlei, 20 years, congratulations. Khalid, thank you for commenting. Excited to learn lots from the session. Eric, thanks for watching from New York. Brian, you probably know good super well. Brian, in our and it looks like it's pronounced differently, but it is Brian, who's in our global team that looks after commerce. Frank, delighted to be part of the conversation today. Andres, who we both know super well in Western Europe. I wish we could pop the champagne. I agree. Igor. As well, and then Frederick, congratulations from Brussels, 20 years. Yeah, so anyway, there's a lot of other people, probably don't have enough time to go scroll it, but I want to flash that up there.
Lots of friends.
Yeah, lots of friends, a lot of people know you, and it's great to have all these people watching. So give me top of mind. I mean, you talked about the journey. I mean, we've been in this kind of very super weird pandemic situation where, fortunate enough, knock on wood, like the light is at the end of the tunnel. As you and I know, like May 1st, if not earlier, for people who are eligible for the vaccine, but at least here in the US, all of us as adults, if we don't have certain conditions or not in certain situations, May 1st is kind of that magical date. But give us a sense for what's top of mind for the BizApps ecosystem, the partner channel, not just from an ISV side, which you and I work closely with, but SIs and the other partners we have. What are some of the things that you could share with the people watching?
Look, right now, we are going through this super intense planning process in the work that you and I do, Brian, and that is a time of deep reflection, because this is the time where we make decisions that are going to take effect, 6-8 months from now. And this is the time to package up all the learnings there, what happened, what didn't happen, what we did well, what we didn't do well. And in a year like this one, where we talk about our customers' digital transformation and how much it accelerated in most of our customers. A year ago, we didn't know what was going to happen to this business in Microsoft. We were very uncertain. We thought, gosh, who's going to replace an ERP in the middle of a pandemic? But the reality is that, customers proved us wrong, and they actually, in order to adapt, they took bolder and faster steps than we thought. But that happened also to our partners, not just to our customers. I remember 3 months into the pandemic, our partners saying, we just took a customer live for the first time completely remotely. Everything was remote. And I think of ERP and the supply chain and finance parts of our business, because sometimes that's the most, that's the most risky. That's the one that requires the most, attention to some of the core mission critical part of customers' companies. But I mean, God, what a change in our partners' business model, our partners' ability to drive customer success without boundaries, not stuck on some of the things that we thought would never change, like shaking hands and going, for dinner. Of course, we like that, and we will go back to that. But I don't know that will go back to the same degree, because now we know that our partners can access talent from all over the world. They can hire from all over the world. Remote is possible in ways we never thought. And so, that's been super top of mind for me, because it's all about growth for this business in Microsoft. It's all about growing this business. We have the best portfolio of technologies we've ever had, broad and deep, and the integration, that promise of the Microsoft Cloud truly coming alive through Dynamics 365 and through the Power Platform has never been truer than it is today. So, it's all about how big can this business be in the next few years. And for that, partners need to think the same. And we, in our universe of partner programs, infrastructure, incentives, feel it's how do we enable that in the best possible way? What's that perfect balance between people and programs and incentives and readiness and skilling and content and co-selling, obviously, What's a perfect balance of levers and things that we can set up to enable partners to grow at the same pace? And if you're in the ecosystem, if you're one of our best partners, our expectation is that you grow faster than the overall business. So, I mean, that at this time of the year, that's what's top of mind for sure.
No, thanks, Cecilia. And it is interesting because we just ran our Partner Advisor Council earlier this week, and there's so many lessons learned. And of course, it's weird because we typically have those face-to-face where we can listen and learn and engage. But also when you think about Inspire for the first time, at least in my time at Microsoft, was virtual last year. Yes. And many of you saw it is virtual, unfortunately, again, this year. And so to your point of the engagement and journey, it's so true of all the things you talked about on how partners have to evolve, but it's also been evident in our, not just SIs, but of course, the area that you and I focus on is ISVs, the amount of ISVs who really innovated on these scenarios that can help with what's going on in the world, either vaccine management, scheduling, back to work scenarios, or just time to market, the value of how do you drive quicker engagement or more efficient engagement with scenarios is amazing.
And in our universe is how do we get, as this business continues to grow, and we continue to grow the number of sellers and the number of people that drive business applications around the world, how do we get in front of those sellers those great solutions that our partners are investing on? How do we do it better and better? Because we have a lot of work to do to be where we would like to be on getting in front of sellers the right solution when they need it from our best partners. Sounds simple, but it really isn't. And we do a lot of work to solve that one problem or advance that one issue.
Yeah, no, thanks, Cecilia, for talking about that. Because you and I have various conversations about co-sell, and we know we hear that loud and clear. And just know, team, we continue to think about how do we improve that through process, through engagement, through incentives, many different things. So continue to keep us, provide that feedback. So why don't we talk about, Cecilia, reflections on H1? I mean, some of the things you kind of touched on, but what are some of the things that you really reflect on besides just, of course, people changing regarding the pandemic? What are some of the reflections? And then what do we have to look forward to when you think about partners and the journey of what you can share? Because, of course, there's a ton of activity we're working on for planning and what that looks like in FY22. Give the people watching a little bit of a point of view on what you've seen in the first half of the fiscal year, and what are the things that you'd want to make sure that partners listening, either SI, ISV, or a combination of both, that are what should they be doing and thinking about to really continue on this fast journey with us?
Look, one of the biggest things that we're thinking about is how do we balance growth, from a revenue perspective, and really this one thing that matters so much, that is growth, but also market share. And how do we combine the two for our partners to think about it in that way? It's how do we drive for reaching new customers, and how do we also allow and work with our customers to keep expanding? Because remember, I mean, I have this, like Brian, this unique position of having been in this business for such a long time. We used to be a business of 4 products.
That's right.
We are a business of more than 30 products. This means really, and when I talk to salespeople, I say, do you realize that there is not one customer in the planet that doesn't need one of the things that we have in our portfolio? Every customer has budget and has a plan, has a problem that can be addressed by one of the things we sell today. And some of it could be a replacement of an application, but some of it is not a replacement of an application. It is answered by Power Apps. Is it answered by Power BI? It's answered by one of our AI applications. So growth in revenue, I think, like working with our customers to continue considering and adopting more of our portfolio, not just that one product in the old way of thinking, CRM or Salesforce automation, but how much more we can talk to our customers about. And how do we work together to reach new customers? Mm-hmm. That balance is something that we still have to do a lot more work with our partners. That's one. Second, but on the same token, right, like this expansion of products and having all these products and the speed of releases and updates that we ship to our portfolio of technologies all the time puts a lot of pressure on learning, on keeping current. And so this other topic that we think a lot about is skilling and enablement, because we win when we can show the differentiation between us as Microsoft and our competitors. And the differentiation is not so much on features and functions of any of the Dynamics 365 applications or the Power Platform for that matter. Is the product, but more than the product is the Microsoft Cloud, the deep integration, the quality of the platform that we bring with it, right? And so for our partners to keep their teams current on that differentiation, and for our partners to build offerings that leverage the best and the latest of what we ship, plus the best and the latest of what they do into an unbeatable offering is, super top of mind for us. And that touches areas of enablement, like I said, but also areas of go-to-market. How do our partners show up with the latest and greatest of the differentiation in our products and their own offerings at the same time to improve win rates and honestly reduce cost of sales for everyone? Because when you win more, you don't need to spend that much time, shooting for different opportunities.
Yeah. No, what a great summary, Cecilia. And just for those listening, when you think about business applications, you know the term dynamics. And dynamics is what Cecilia and I have seen kind of through the journey. It has gotten so expansive where even us internally, there's just so much innovation that the teams are doing to keep up with that. And so just know we bucket it into what we refer to as customer engagement, which is things like sales, marketing, customer service, field service. Then you have F&O, finance and operations, which is traditional ERP. And then you have Power Apps, which is many of the things that Cecilia mentioned, where it's this business process that may not fit into one of these more finished areas, but it's still a business process that you can take advantage of with Power Apps or Power Automate or even Power BI. And you are so spot on with the continuous learning and skilling. And there's so many resources we provide to partners, but I'll just go a quick private shout out to the fact that we have a launch event. In case people, I'm sure many of our partners know, but we're in that time of year where we actually are going to be releasing our next wave of innovation that's going to cover us from now until about the September timeframe. So I encourage you, if you haven't seen it yet, there is a launch event happening in early April. I think it's April 6th. Yeah, thank you. James Phillips is actually going to, and he's our president of our business applications R&D team, where he is going to be sharing a point of view. But prior to that, on documentations.our docs.microsoft.com, there's all this wealth of information that's already been pre-released and pre-provided to give you some context of all this innovation happening across CE, F&O, and Power Apps. So one thing is I'm going to call out for people watching, if you have questions, I should have mentioned that you saw it on the ticker window below, because we're going to wrap this up probably in the next 5 minutes with Cecilia. But if you have questions, now's your chance. If I see something pop up, I'll definitely give an opportunity where you have both of our focus and attention. And if you have a question for people watching, please put it in the LinkedIn window, and we'll potentially get a few of them. So think about them now and post them, because we'll be able to ask Cecilia before we close out. I am going to pull up Jitesh. So you might know he's a Microsoft person out in Australia. He resonated with, who's going to change an ERP during a pandemic? And hey, guess what? We are seeing that, because people they realize that if they stay stagnant, it's going to hurt them in the long run versus with that constant digital transformation and kind of what I call ripping off the Band-Aid and say, no, you know what? We have to go do this. And now is the best time to kind of focus on that. So what are some of the call to actions when you think about these things, Cecilia? We're talking about kind of as we're prepping for this. What are some of the things that you'd want to tell a partner to go do? And besides the continuous learning and the skilling, what are some of the things, like maybe it's regarding the dynamics competencies and the things like that? what are some of the areas of things that people can take a call to action on, and things that people should be doing or learning more of?
Yeah, look, for a few years now, I've been talking about these 3 core pillars of partner success. With the first one being the construction of your offering, which is leverages the best of what we bring as Microsoft and the best of what you bring as a partner, both from a technology perspective, a value proposition, your differentiation, your industry focus, whatever is your segment focus, something that makes you unique, that gets combined with what makes Microsoft unique. And the combination of those two makes for an unbeatable offering. That's the first one. The second one is all this enablement and skilling. It's building capacity that with quality, with intention. This enablement and skilling. And I'm not just talking about delivery, which is where we tend to go with a services business, but it's the developers, it's the marketers, it's the sellers, and it's the delivery. And then the last pillar being, delivering on the promise. We have to drive customer success. And honestly, that's the ultimate outcome. Whether you're an ISV or a services partner, the ultimate outcome is that customers are successful with whatever they buy from us, Microsoft and yourself. And our partners. So on that token, we created a completely new structure for our competencies. But it's not just used for our competencies. We actually use it internally for everything that says, okay, well, now in the cloud world, and let's live what we preach for our customers. What is the data-driven way in which we can look at our ecosystem and say, these are the partners that are differentiating on performance, on technical capability, and their ability to drive customer success. So, my call to action is to think of your business that way, to look at our programs and how that is the message we're trying to send, that says, yes, in the old days, performance was king. Performance, revenue, customer ads, and all that language was so core to everything we did. But now we're talking, yes, super important. It's very important that you have certified resources. Why? Because we have new exams for developers, new exams for solution architects, new exams for functional consultants, and all of that is refreshing all the time to keep up with all these new products and new innovations. So we need your people to keep up with all of this as well. So that is the technical capability. And the third pillar being, do we see usage from the customers that work with you? And is that usage growing? So honestly, for everything to work out, for excellence to be proven, for you to differentiate from the masses of companies that do business around their ecosystem, that is the way to prove it, is performing, driving technical capability, and demonstrating customer success. That way of thinking is going to be tightly aligned with how we are set up to think about our ecosystem for the many years to come, and take the best leverage, and take the best use of everything that we put out there from the programs and incentives, because everything will surround and will be around those concepts moving forward.
No, that's good, Cecilia. We're going to flash up towards the end, just a call to action, and what Cecilia touched upon, everyone watching, is those partner competency indicators. So we have the direct link, and I'll flash it up there. But
and it's no different for ISVs, Brian. I just want to make that call because this sounds very SI-centric, but it is no different from ISVs. Our ISV Connect program, the certification of the applications that we do to publish them in AppSource, it's all the same, just with a slightly different flavor. We want your application to have certain performance and certain capability and demonstrate certain stability, and that's what we test for. And then we will look, in the structure of ISV Connect program, to the performance, to our ability to co-sell with you, and apply the same types of things to our ISV ecosystem. So it really is no different, just adapted to your business, to the ISV business model.
Yeah, no, that's great, Cecilia. And that's good to kind of leeway into the fact that many of the partners know who are in the Dynamics program or ecosystem today, we actually are taking the nominations for Partner of the Year and all these accolades, all these things. So Cecilia was kind of hinting, okay, how do we measure that success and that drive? And you can imagine as we're evaluating, Cecilia and I are, of course, part of the teams that look at all these wealth of great stories that partners are sharing to be considered. Guess what? If you have some of those things being put in there, that strengthens the conversation, and not only these accolades, but inner circle and all these other components that make how you measure success even better. Hey, the one thing I do want to call out, Cecilia, so a question that came in from the feed, and this is probably really super relevant and top of mind, is can you comment on the partner strategy as it relates to now that we as Microsoft have gone to this big push with all these industry clouds, healthcare, financial services, manufacturing, et cetera? Can you give your point of view on what is that partner strategy from your angle, from as an ecosystem lead, on how partners should be thinking about that level of focus in some of these industry clouds that we've announced and now have provided some early access to for certain partners?
Yeah, I mean, in many ways, no different than other products. With every one of the industry clouds, we are looking at partners that would expand, that would extend, that would implement, that would integrate those industry clouds into their solutions. In many ways, no different. And we are so excited that we finally have a clear point of view. I think of them as representations of the Microsoft Cloud in an industry scenario that really just kind of sets the tone for how the Microsoft Cloud solves specific industry problems in a language that those customers will speak. And so it's all opportunity around the industry clouds. So we look at the strategy in the same way we look at the strategy for every product. We have more work to do to combine our business applications, because the industry clouds are not exactly, they're not Dynamics. They're actually the Microsoft Cloud. Yeah. They have modern workplace showing up in a very big way. Obviously, Azure with all the services around our scalable platform and some components of business applications. It is really Microsoft Cloud for industry, Microsoft Cloud for healthcare, Microsoft Cloud for whatever industry. And so there is a convergence between what our partners do for that industry with a very business applications angle and what we are shipping from a Microsoft perspective that I think is going to end up in a much richer combination for customers in the end. If anything, business applications partners, ISVs or services partners, are best positioned to take advantage of these Microsoft clouds for industries. And think of it as this: partners can integrate, can expand, can extend, can implement those products. Yeah.
Yeah, well said, Cecilia. So let's go ahead and start to wrap this up. I did want to call out a shout out. So Freddie had a nice comment here. Couldn't agree more. We strengthened our relationships with Microsoft team and clients greatly this past year. Dynamics has stayed on top of the customer needs as well as our own. Thank you. Great. Thank you, Freddie, for that nice shout out. So as we close this out, Cecilia, I mean, any closing comments? I'll flash up. Let me flash up kind of for people who want to learn a little bit about either the ISV Connect program, the partner competencies that Cecilia was alluding to, as well as we do have a partner community. It was recently established early in the fiscal year. It does require, for those watching, it does require you to log in with your partner credentials, partner center credentials. But it's a great way to continue the dialogue and the conversation so we can have a partner community, have a vibrant conversation back and forth, and not just with Microsoft, but also with your other partners around the world. So any last minute parting thoughts, Cecilia, as we kind of close out and wind down the live event today?
Just thinking, one thing that maybe I didn't mention is it's been really interesting to look at the different workloads, if you want, across the business application spectrum that customers really looked for during the pandemic. Like all the service workloads, customers really put a lot of emphasis in modernizing their call centers and their customer service departments. Obviously, supply chain was super important and much more important than maybe we had anticipated, but all the e-commerce and all the virtual world in our daily life ended up impacting all the manufacturing companies as well, and that touched their supply chain and finance solutions as well. And Power Apps obviously is one of the newest additions to the portfolio, and one that is growing so fast because it allows for customers to solve almost any problem in the planet with a very fast, low-code solution. So I wonder, I'm eager to see in the rebound, the economic rebound of the pandemic, what are the areas that are going to be highlighted as what customers are going to look for. I think that this service and supply chain will continue because it's been a call to action. It's been a wake-up call for so many customers that I think customers will continue to drive transformation there. But I think we are going to see other things. And one of the things that I think that we will see is the state of the data across our customers and the power of connecting and consolidating our customers' data so that through insights and learnings, they can start taking, modifying processes, modernizing solutions, changing or improving their call center, or improving their effectiveness of the marketing campaign. So I expect to see our customers reflecting and investing on anything that is data and insights to get to know their customers better and make that the driver for what business process needs to change or what business solutions needs to be modernized. And that's, I think, is a theme that will dominate next year, and our partners as well. So it's so much more, being a Dynamics partner, being a business applications partner is, whether you're an ISV or a services partner, is so much more than just worrying about the features and function of the business application. It's so much more about the data of our customers, the state of that data, the insights that provides, before we even wonder and talk about what we're going to do with the business process. And I expect that to be a pretty dominant topic for next year, for next fiscal year. When we say next year in Microsoft, you need to understand that we live in an alternate universe where the years go from July to June. So we're lucky enough to have 2 New Year's parties usually, one for the fiscal and one the real life.
Yeah, no, exactly, Cecilia. Because sometimes, even I get confused myself. Like, what year are we talking about? Our calendar year or our fiscal year? And God, well said. I mean, data is so important, and you've seen that with all the innovation that we're doing across our artificial intelligence scenarios, including ones within Dynamics with customer insights as an example. And
exactly.
I've seen that also, to your point, Cecilia. People who are maximizing how to do that, not just with business process, but harnessing that to analyze and determine what do we do with this, and then try to take the right next best action. So I do want to call out, we try to do this every Monday, everyone. So next week, we actually have one of our long-standing ISVs, Anata, who's going to talk about things in automotive manufacturing scenarios. So stay tuned. If you like what you're seeing, we do this every Monday at 8 o'clock. Please post in the comments. I mean, I'm sure Cecilia and I, if you have any questions through this and you get a chance to watch it, just drop us a note, send us a LinkedIn message, connect with us, send us a personalized message saying, hey, you saw this and this is what you got out of it. We'd love to hear about this value and moving forward. So thank you again, Cecilia. Congratulations again on 20 years. I mean, high applause, because that is such an amazing journey and story of things to share. And I can't wait to see what this journey continues to look like, to where maybe hopefully 5 years from now, maybe 25 years, where, for those of you who don't know, once you hit 25-year mark at Microsoft, if you've been to the Microsoft campus, there's actually in our executive briefing center a crystal wall that has all the names of employees that have hit 25 years. So cheers to you, Cecilia. Looking forward to the time where we can all celebrate with our partners face to face Thanks again for the time, and thanks everybody for watching. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Okay, cheers.
Have
Bye.
the rest of the day. Bye-bye.